welcome to another video. You've got Mr. Everything English. And guys, in today's video, I am not going to be teaching you guys anything to do with the English curriculum. Instead, I am going to be talking to you about a few different topics, such as the importance of this year, how you're supposed to revise, how you even make a revision timetable, just a range of topics, which I think are important for you guys to understand before we kind of get further on into the year. Guys, the first thing I want to talk about is get your mind right and understand the importance of these next few months. Today, guys, when I'm recording this video, it's November the 1st. November, December, January, February, March, April. 6 months is all we have because in May is when your GCSE exams begin. Now, 6 months is not a lot of time. However, it is very important that we make the most of this time. And the first thing and the only thing I want to say about this particular topic is, guys, just make sure you get your mind right. Just make sure you understand the assignment. Make sure you understand what you're getting yourself into. Now, there'll be loads of people who will say to you, forget GCSEs, they're not important, you don't even need them. I failed all my GCSEs and look at me. Or the other person will say, I smashed my GCSEs and I didn't even revise. And then you get the third person who put in that work and they got to where they need to get to. Guys, look, don't get distracted by the noise. Don't get distracted by the noise. You may never use your GCSEs in your life. That's correct. Or you may use your GCSEs in your life. Guys, I get students at the age of 50 coming to me, asking me to teach them the English GCSE. I had a student this year who's 54 years old because they didn't pass it back in the days and now they need to do some course. So for that course, they need GCSEs. But even if you forget all that, my rule in life is very simple, guys. Take your life for what it is at that moment. At this moment in time, your GCSEs are super, super important. That's your reality. So you might as well give it your best shot. You're gonna do them regardless. Whether you are dragged into the exam hall or whether you walk in there confident with the preparation you've done, you're gonna sit them anyway. And they are reflective over what you've learned and what you've done over the past 5 years. So don't get distracted, guys, into all this noise. I remember, guys, when A-level results came out, I think there's a tweet by Jeremy Clarkson and he talks about how, forget A-levels, I never used them. Yeah, cool, that's you. You didn't use them, but don't get wrapped up in those, I'm gonna be like him. Guys, don't think about what's coming when you're 20, 30, 40. For me personally, guys, I got to where I got to primarily because of my background in education. It helped me massively. I didn't just one day wake up and just be able to do what I do. Now, why am I saying this, guys? Is because if your mindset is wrong, guys, everything else is messed up. You could read studies about how you should be eating bananas and nuts because bananas and nuts will help your memory and blah, blah, blah. And how you should be drinking 2 liters of water a day. Guys, all that is lovely. But if your mindset sucks, that stuff is irrelevant. So, guys, the first thing you need to do is understand that you are responsible for the next 6 months. And you are responsible of what you make of it. Don't blame your teachers, don't blame your parents, don't blame other people. These are all people that support you, but you as a student need to get serious for these 6 months. I have to keep saying this, guys, because I see it on Instagram and I see it on TikTok. And normally it's the kids who fail who use it as an excuse, if I'm gonna be really honest. It's the ones that are failing that come out with, yeah, forget GCSEs, I don't need them. You do. And you might. How can you so confidently preach about your future? Deal with your reality. And your reality is, my friend, that in 6 months' time, you have an exam that will assess what you've learned over your time at high school. So please try your best because you're doing that exam regardless. So that's the first thing, guys. Please, I implore you, get your mind right. Second thing is the importance of making sure you've covered the content. Now, guys, when I teach my year 11s and year 10s, my personal rule of thumb is as follows. By the end of year 10, we cover all the content. By the end of year 10. So whether that's an Inspector Calls, Macbeth, Jekyll and Hyde, English Lang 1, English Lang 2, We cover all the content. However, I understand some schools can't do that. Some schools are unfortunate because they may have a lack of staff, so they're relying on supply teachers, or for whatever reason, every school has a different reality, which means every student has a different reality. But guys, this is my super important point. Come Christmas of this year, so next month, you have to make sure you've covered all the content. So for example, for English literature, you have to make sure you've read your 4 texts. Your Shakespeare text, your 19th century text, your modern text, and your poetry. You have to make sure you've covered English language paper 1 and paper 2 at least once. So this way, guys, you have an idea of what you're supposed to be doing. Now, if you go to a school where these things may not be done by Christmas, fine, you do it off your own back. There's nothing stopping you at home from reading Unexpected Calls. There's nothing stopping you from reading A Christmas Carol. So when you do eventually cover it in school, at least you have that head start. And why do I say, guys, the content should be covered by Christmas? Guys, because after Christmas, it should be pure revision. It should be you sharpening your tools and sharpening your knowledge, not you learning brand new content. That's what I mean when I say cover your content. I don't mean you might redo Macbeth in January at school. But when you redo Macbeth in January, guys, it's for revision. You shouldn't hopefully be reading Macbeth from fresh in January for your exam in May. So guys, you have to make sure that come Christmas, you've covered the content. Ideally, this is in school. If not, guys, please do it at home off your own back. There are plenty of resources. You can buy the text, you can read the text, you can watch loads of stuff online, but just take a little bit more responsibility because at the end of the day, guys, it is your exam. So guys, please make sure you cover the content. The next thing, guys, once you've got your mind right, and then once you've covered the content, we move on to something called revision. Lovely word. What a lovely word, guys, is revision. But what does revision actually mean? Does revision mean getting an A3 page? I always say, guys, getting an A3 page and getting some pastel colors, highlighters, and drawing lovely mind maps and sticking stuff on your fridge and staring at a wall, but really you're not revising? Like, what does revision actually mean? Guys, look, this is how you revise for English. Guys, this is how you revise for English. For English literature, the first thing you must do is read all the text. Once you've read all the text, you want to make the notes that you're going to revise from. What these notes should consist of, number 1, is the context for each text, because that is AO3. Number 2, you want to have maybe 3 pages or 3 A3 sheets about the following. Number 1, what is the overall text about? For example, if you're doing Macbeth, you might have a sheet that says what happens in Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, Act 4, Act 5. Just because it gives you an overview of the entire play. Then you want to have a separate page briefly going over who are the key characters, and a separate page, guys, about what are some of the key themes. That's 3 pages. Plus your context, that's 4 pages. Then all you want is another page. And that's the 5th page, guys. And on this 5th page, my advice has always been learn 10 quotes per text. Learn 10 quotes per text. In the exam, they will give you an extract. We are doing 4 paragraphs. From the extract, we're going to pick 2 quotes, which means we are left with 2 paragraphs where we need 2 quotes. Some people say learn 30 quotes, some say learn 50. In my opinion, that's unrealistic. You want to learn 10 generic quotes that you can apply to lots of different exam questions. So on this page, guys, write down your 10 quotes. Write down what this quote means. Pick out the language devices, pick out the structural devices, and then look through papers and see where you can apply it. So for Macbeth or Romeo and Juliet or wherever your Shakespeare text is, you have 5 pages. Context, characters, themes, context, characters, themes, what did I say, guys? Sorry, context, characters, themes, an overview of the text, and your key quotes. You do the exact same thing for an Inspector Calls. You do the exact same thing for the modern text. You do the exact same thing for the 19th century text. You don't have booklets and booklets and booklets to revise from. You make your notes. Now, once you've made your notes, guys, get these notes checked by your teacher just to make sure your notes are correct, because the last thing you want to do is be revising from incorrect stuff. Once you've made your notes, please, I beg you, do the following. Don't just sit at home and reread your notes 1,000 times. You got 10 quotes to learn. You can learn 10 quotes in 5 days. You can all learn 2 quotes per day. So no one should be saying, oh sir, I'm going to spend the next 2 months learning my quotes. No, we're spending 5 days learning our quotes. Once you've made your notes and once you've got them checked, past paper practice is what you have to do. English is a writing exam. You can only improve writing by writing. So please guys, when you're at home, actually do past paper questions. 45 minutes, 1 hour 45 minutes, depending on what you're doing. No toilet breaks. Even though you like to go in the exam in the toilet, never go to the toilet in an exam. Hold in whatever you got to do until the exam is over. Do your assessment, no breaks. Do a piece of work. If you can, get marked by your teacher. Get some kind of feedback. Now, obviously, guys, your teachers can't mark your work every week because there's so many of you guys, there's only one of them. So you can't expect them to mark everything in detail. But you might ask them to give you some verbal feedback. Miss, have a read, just give me some verbal feedback of one thing I can improve. Then next week, try again. And keep doing that week by week by week by week. But this whole thing about I'm making my notes and I'm revising from my notes, guys, what does that mean? It should take you 2 or 3 days to make your notes. After that, it's all a matter of past paper practice. Guys, how do you revise for English language? English language is a skills-based exam. It is not heavy in content. English literature is heavy in content. English language is not heavy in content. Guys, for English language, first thing you want to learn, guys, is make sure you know language devices, make sure you know structural devices, and then you want to work yourself through past papers. A lot of students will mess up in English language, not because they don't know the content or they don't know the skills, it's simply because of time. And the only way you will improve your time is through practice. The only way you will speed up writing is through writing consistently. And that's like anything in life, guys. That's like anything. So just make sure, guys, that you are doing that practice. Then, guys, in this year, now guys, I hope I'm not rambling. I'm just trying to get everything out in a short amount of time. Guys, next thing, this year has checkpoints. This year has checkpoints. Checkpoint number 1 is your mock exam that is coming up either in November or December. When you get your mock exam result, don't be so infatuated by your grade, rather be infatuated, guys, by your feedback. So many times, right, I see students when they get their result, they check their grade, oh, I got a grade 6, I got a grade 7, and that's it, they stop. They don't actually check, okay, what did I get for question 3, for 4, for 5? What was my strongest question? What was the weakest question? Where do I need to go and revise a little bit more? Where do I need to go and pay a little bit more attention? What were the comments by my teacher? Guys, use your mock exam as feedback of how you need to improve. Don't just check your grade and run with it. Hopefully everyone does well, but please use it as your feedback. So, December, November, that mock exam is your first checkpoint. Whatever grade you get in November or December, most students will do a second mock exam in February. Your job is to improve by at least 1 grade by February. Because during this time, you should be revising, you should be going to school, and you may be using content online to support your learning. Now, 1 grade is equivalent to about 4 to 5 marks. So you should be able to improve by about 4 to 5 marks over this time. That's your second checkpoint. And then, guys, you go and you sit your exam in May. But use these as checkpoints throughout the year. Now, of course, guys, your school will have lots more assessments in class. They'll have midterm, half term. They'll maybe give you homework. They'll have lots of other checkpoints throughout the year. But these are your big checkpoints, guys, that you have to focus on. So, guys, just to recap very quickly before we look at how to make a revision timetable. Number 1, please make sure you get your mind right. Take this year seriously because it is a very important year. Number 2, make sure you're able to cover the content by the end of Christmas. Number 3, make sure you start to make preparations of how to revise. So get your notes done, get your quotes done, get everything in place. Then start doing practice papers. Number 4, guys, make sure you're aware, so number 4 or 5, I lost count. Guys, make sure you're aware of the checkpoints throughout the year. Make sure you're assessing yourself regularly so you can see gradual improvement. Now guys, revision, revision timetables. Now smile, right? Because so many kids say to me, sir, how do you make a revision timetable? Can you show us how to make one? And I know for a fact, you're not following this timetable. You're gonna make it, stick on your wall and never look at it again. Why do I say that, guys? Because the first thing when it comes to a revision timetable is the first point that I made at the beginning. Get your mind right. Stick to your revision timetable. Have a bit of discipline. Have a bit of discipline, guys. Don't make a revision timetable and just like have it stuck on your wall to make yourself feel better. You need to be disciplined enough to stick to it. Now, in life, we all have to do things that we don't like. That's part of life. It's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay to lose a bit of sleep. It's okay to be tired. It's okay to be even kind of stressed and nervous. These are all okay feelings if they're channeled in the right direction. Your revision timetable, guys, is what will hold you accountable. Because that is what holds you accountable to what you do at home. If I was your teacher and I said, guys, who's revising? And your hand went up, there's not really any way I can check it. I can't really prove that you are or you aren't. I can just take your word for it. Please stick to your revision timetable. And this leads me on to the important point. Make sure your revision timetable is realistic. What does that mean? We are currently in November. The exams are in May. Your revision should be gradually increasing. So the hours you're revising, the intensity you're revising, that should gradually be increasing. So by the time you get to your exam, you've peaked. So that doesn't mean you have to revise 10 hours a day right now, but do maybe 2 or 3 hours and plod along until you get to the top. Okay, guys, now I'm gonna switch to the board and I'm gonna show you guys how you might go about making a revision timetable that you can all kind of make very easily at home. You might wanna make yours while I make this one, just so by the end of this video, you've kind of made your timetable that you can begin to follow. So guys, let me switch the camera. So if we were making a revision timetable, at the bottom here, right, I've got an example of a student who's doing English, Maths, Science, French, History, IT, and PE. Now, of course, you can substitute depending upon what you're doing. So for example, if you're doing geography and not history, then change that to geography. If you're doing Spanish rather than French, you can change it. But this is a generic student that we can use as an example. Now, the first thing that we're gonna do, guys, is this timetable is for November this year, how we start off our revision. And I'm working with 3 hours in the evening that we have after school. So you might finish school at 3:30, get home by 4, 4 to 5, 4 to 6, you might wanna chill out, relax, watch a bit of telly, go on TikTok, do whatever you gotta do. That gives you that time. So between 4 and 6 to kind of relax after your day at school. And then you start work. Now, the first thing we do, guys, is the easy part. It sounds, well, it's unfortunate I say this, but it's a reality. The two most important subjects are English and Maths. Because without these two, you can't progress further in your A-levels and so on. And science is also important, especially anyone wanting to pursue that further. So those are the first 3 that we plot across. So we do English, we do Maths, we do Science. Then we do English, we do Maths, and over here, guys, we do Science again. So if we look throughout the week, guys, if we look throughout the week, we've got English locked in twice, we've got maths locked in twice, and we've got science locked in twice. Now, you can decide what you do with these hours. You might do English language there, English literature there, you might do physics there, you might do chemistry there. You decide how you split your time. But as the minimum, guys, we've got English, maths, and science locked in twice a week, no matter what happens. Then we are left with 4 other subjects. And then, guys, we can simply plot them across the bottom. So you got French, you got history, you got IT, and let's say you got PE. Now, if you follow this initial revision timetable, you've revised all of your subjects at least once a week. Guys, you've revised all of your subjects at least once a week. So you got 1 hour there and 1 hour there. And to be honest with you guys, this is not a lot. Revising 2 hours a day to begin with is not a lot. Now, I'm gonna explain what we're gonna do here in a second. Then guys, look, we all need some time off. So let's say we block out Saturday. Let's say we block out Saturday, Saturday is your day off, which is fine. It's okay to have time off, guys, to recharge and so on. By Sunday is the day that you dedicate it to doing exam papers. You want to make sure that you are getting that practice in. So whatever you've spent the week doing, Sunday can be your day where you really put in that work and really get to grips with what you've done. So for example, if on a Monday you were going through Macbeth, maybe do a past paper on Macbeth on a Sunday. That's entirely up to you. Now guys, this is a very easy exam revision timetable. But then we have these slots in between. Guys, Now these slots, as time goes on, this is what I would fill this time with. You can do two things. You can either fill it up with other subjects. So for example, you might do history again, or you might do PE again, or you might do double maths or double English. But guys, what I don't want is your revision time to become a matter of just reading stuff. Now, I know we have exam papers over here, but how many can you do in one day? Maybe 2 subjects, maximum 3, because that will take a long time. So guys, my advice is as time goes on, I would advise you guys to dedicate some of these hours to more exam papers. So use the slot in the middle to do some practice. Guys, use the slot in the middle to do some practice. And then let's say you do exam practice, guys. Let's say you do exam practice there, and on the Sunday. And you're revising all your subjects on from 6 to 7 and 8 to 9 p.m. I've put 2 stars here, guys. These 2 stars can be reflective. Guys, these 2 stars can be reflective of, at this moment in time, you can choose maybe some of your weakest subjects and revise them in there. Now guys, remember one thing, this is a revision timetable for November, right now. As the months go by, this timetable starts at 6 p.m. You can easily, another row, and start revising at 5 p.m. So you've got another hour throughout the entire week where you are now revising. You can also remember that we haven't yet used Saturday. We can also, as time goes on, open up Saturday to a day of revision. This timetable, guys, in my opinion, is a realistic and it's an easy timetable to get yourself started. Remember what I said earlier, guys, discipline is what we need. And this timetable, guys, is something that will allow you to be disciplined because it's a realistic start to your year of revision. That is my advice for what you guys should be doing this year. We spoke about mindset, we spoke about content, we spoke about revision, we went through a revision timetable. Now guys, it's just a matter of you guys getting things done. From me to you guys, I genuinely wish you all the best of luck. I will try my best to give you all the correct content that you need to do really, really well in your exam. Next week and the week after, guys, there will be content coming out on A Christmas Carol and on poetry and how to compare poems. We're going to be looking at, I believe I'm going to be doing bayonet charge versus charge of the Light Brigade, and we're going to be going over 4 grade 9 points for an essay on Christmas Carol. So that's the content coming up. And that is it, guys. Do take this year seriously. It is a very important year. And if I can help you in any way, guys, you're welcome to drop me a DM on Instagram. I will try my best to reply. And as always, guys, take care of yourselves. It's been Mr. Everything English. Peace.